Yo, what's up? It's your girl Crombie coming to you with another episode of Talking Football with Crombie. Let's get it. As we get started, I want to talk about a team that's still undefeated this season, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is a team that's been rolling. They have 8 wins, they have no losses, and the rest of their schedule, it's pretty easy. But how is this team still undefeated? Well, there are a couple of key factors. And when you look at this team, mostly you see it on the defensive side. They've got 3 different players that are in the top 10 in sacks this season. And not only that, Big Ben, currently he's averaging a 68 completion percentage. In his career, he's about a 64. And then when you think about passer rating, right now he's at a 101. On his career, normally 93. So Big Ben has been a pivotal part as to why this team has been playing very well. But not only that, he's been able to get multiple wide receivers involved. And in total, 5 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 2 tight ends. They have over 1,800 yards this year. And that's huge for them. But back to that defense. They are 3rd in point differential with 7 this year. They've got 15 takeaways and only 8 giveaways, which is outstanding. But how does this team rank up? Their offense ranked 25th. Okay. Defense ranked 6th. That's huge. And then their special teams is also ranked 5th. And when you have a team that's performing at a high level, and we can say high level because they've won some games we know they should have won very easily, but they've continued to find ways to win close games, albeit versus good and or bad opponents. So that's how this team has been able to stay undefeated. Let's talk about top games of the week. Normally, in top games of the week, we'll cover the top 5, but this week, there are really 3 key games that I feel like are must watch. So let's jump into them. The first one being, we just talked about the Steelers, so when a team's undefeated, they're a must watch. So we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if there's anything that we know about the Steelers, as discussed earlier, is that they have one of the best defenses in the NFL and a great unit to get after the quarterback. And this week, they get Joe Burrow, who's been sacked the 2nd most in the league. Yikes. Especially because Pittsburgh's defense, they're creating pressure on over 46% of dropbacks. It's going to be a long day for Joe Burrow. But I like Joe Burrow a lot. I think that he's been able to do, I would say, quite a bit with the options that he has at his disposal. And we know that offensive line is not that good. But a couple key things to note. The Bengals have lost their first game out of a bye 4 straight seasons. The last time they won a game after the bye, it was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but that was in 2015. Yikes. The Steelers have beat the Bengals 10 times in a row. Yikes. But I do think this is one of those games, they like to call it a trap game. This is one of those games that the Steelers, they could potentially slip up and let this one get away from them. And I just don't think it's going to be this week. I'm going with the Steelers here. I think that they'll be able to get past the Bengals, although I really like what Zach Taylor has started to implement within the offense and what Joe Burrow's been able to do and the continuity across the team. So I think the Cincinnati Bengals will be a team to look out for, but Steelers this week. Another great game to watch this week is the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Now, something to note. The Vikings are 4-16 when they play in Chicago. Yikes. And Minnesota, they're coming off huge wins against Green Bay and Detroit. So they're feeling really good about themselves. Chicago Bears, they're coming off a 3-game skid. they really have to try to figure out how to get right if they want to stay in this NFC playoff race. Now, something that's really great to note, I think, at least for Chicago, is that Matt Nagy has given up play calling. He's going to stick to head coaching. He's going to let the offensive coordinator handle the play calling. I don't know who's more excited, me or Nick Foles. Nick Foles was in an interview that he'll hear plays coming in, and he'll know right away that he's not going to have the time to complete them just because the O-line's been so bad. I think Matt Nagy handing over the coordinating duties to the offensive coordinator is going to be huge for this team. I think that we'll see some significant differences in the offense that Chicago puts on the field. But Minnesota, they got Dalvin Cook, and since he's been back, he has been nothing less than perfect. This guy is running for touchdowns. He's catching footballs for touchdowns. He's literally doing everything that you could want your running back to do, except for throw the ball, I guess, because Kirk Cousins, that's their quarterback. But this game is on Monday night, and Kirk Cousins is 0-9 on Monday Night Football. And based on that statistic alone, I'm going with the Chicago Bears here, but also because they're at home. They're in a game that is an absolute watch for this week. It's the Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Rams, and there are all types of playoff implications in this one. The Seahawks, they need to get a win to make sure that they can stay atop of their division, especially when you have teams like the Cardinals, who they lost to. And then, of course, you have the Rams, who come in with one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now, we're talking about Aaron Donalds, and we're talking about Jalen Ramsey on the back end. We're talking about a team that can not only beat you on the offense, but they'll also score on you from their defense. That's a problem. And speaking of defense, Seattle has one of the worst defenses that Pete Carroll has ever been a head coach for. In 8 games this season, they've had more passing yards against them than they did all 16 games in their Super Bowl series in 2013. Yikes. That's not good, especially when you have a team that's coming in that likes to throw the ball. I think Sean McVay knows that the Seahawks are susceptible to the pass, and he's going to have it dialed up all day long. But what's great about the Rams being able to throw the ball is that they've also been pretty good on the ground, and they've got a running back duo that's been able to get it done. But if the Seahawks show up with the defense that we've seen with Jamal Adams on the back end playing at a high level, and eventually maybe they get Griffin back, I think that this team they're going straight to the playoffs. But until then, I love Russell Wilson. Haven't talked about him just yet, but he needs help. And right now, he doesn't have that help on the offensive side. Yes, he has DK Metcalf, who is a monster on the field. I know Jalen Ramsey, he might be fired up because it's going to be a challenge, but I think DK Metcalf owns that. But the Rams, they own this game. They'll come out with a win. This game is in Los Angeles, and that's really why I'm taking the Rams. But also, Sean McVay is 4-2 against Pete Carroll. So I'm going with the head coach that has found ways to win against a great coach, Pete Carroll. But go Rams. Let's rapid fire through the rest of my picks for this week. So we have Houston at Cleveland Browns. I really like Houston here. I do. And the Cleveland Browns are obviously coming off of a bye as well. However, I'm taking the Cleveland Browns here. They are getting Nick Chubb back in the backfield. I think that they'll be able to do enough because they're at home. Only because they're at home. If this game was in Houston, I would take the Texans. But because it is in Cleveland, I think Baker Mayfield and his squad, Rashard Higgins and all of those guys, Jarvis Landry, if he's healthy, I think they'll be able to get a win. But don't think that Deshaun Watson and his Texans, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, don't think that they won't get the job done, because they will. I just don't think it'll be enough. Give me Browns. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Green Bay Packers. This is a really easy pick for me. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. They've looked really good as of late. We know that they looked pretty bad a couple weeks ago against the Vikings, but keep in mind that that's a divisional game. Jacksonville Jaguars have one win on the season, and they have their second string quarterback starting. I'm going with the Packers. Give me Packers. Philadelphia Eagles at New York Giants. I actually like this matchup. It was going to be one of the games that I thought would be, a must watch this week, but just not enough hype around teams that have 5 wins combined on the season. Sorry. Philadelphia has gotten healthy. I'm hearing that Alshon Jeffrey should be playing this game. That's huge. They're getting Miles Sanders back potentially as well. That's huge for them. The Giants, I will say that they play tough, and they're a really scrappy team. A lot of people have been talking about their coach and Joe Judge and how this team is playing for him, and how at practice he's really dumping all of his time into sections and positions that need more time. And I love to hear it, but it's not going to be enough. Give me the Philadelphia Eagles. Give me the turnover machine and Carson Wentz. I think eventually he gets right. If Carson doesn't get right, then we're going to see Jalen Hurts. I really think that Jalen Hurts can take this team a lot farther than Wentz, but for another time. Give me Eagles. Tampa Bay Bucks at Carolina Panthers. Yeah, Panthers are coming off like a 3-game losing skid. Tampa Bay, they just got the doors blown off by the Saints. I don't think this is a good week for Carolina. Christian McCaffrey's back out after he came back last week. Give me the Tampa Bay Bucks. Last week, Tom Brady was embarrassed, and we know what happens when you're on the wrong side of the stick. When Tom Brady gets embarrassed the week before, the next team normally doesn't do good. I also want to keep something else in mind. We talked about Tom Brady with the Saints and how he had never been swept by a division opponent. Well, that happens. He's never lost to two division opponents. Does it happen this week? No. Tampa Bay. Give me Tampa. Washington football team at Detroit Lions. I want to pick the Washington football team really bad here. I do. But I think because this is at Detroit, I'm going to give the Lions the upper hand. Galladay is out. That does give me a little bit of worry. I think Matthew Stafford, though, still finds a way to win. That's if Detroit can protect him. Washington has been able to get after the quarterback. They're in the top 5 of sacks this year. Watch out for them. And then watch out for Alex Smith. Love to see him back. I don't think it'll be enough. Buffalo Bills at Arizona Cardinals. Woo! Man, the Buffalo Bills just beat the Seahawks last week. Josh Allen, he came off one of the best games of his career in many people's opinion. And then we also know that prior to that game that he lost his grandmother, and he said in an interview that he played inspired. I think that he's going to play inspired the rest of the season. He had been, hot the first 4 games of the season, cold the last 4, and then the last game he played really big. I think that he continues that. I think that he plays well in this game. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills at Arizona. I think it's going to be a tough matchup. I think Kyler Murray is going to be able to do a lot with his feet. I think he'll be able to do a lot in the air as well. I just don't think it's going to be enough. Give me Josh Allen, give me John Brown, give me Stephon Diggs, and give me that Buffalo Bills defense. They've been playing better as of late, and I'm going Bills. Let's go Bills. All right, Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders. I like both of these teams, and the AFC West has a lot of promise. Drew Lock obviously has been playing pretty well. And then Derek Carr, he just has not been getting his respect. You guys need to put some respect on this man's name. He's been able to get it done. Regardless of what the record says, Derek Carr has been playing lights out for the most part of this season. And because of Derek Carr, I'm going with the Las Vegas Raiders. They are at home. I don't think the Broncos, they just don't have enough right now, and I think they're on the brink, and that's what's really great about this Broncos team is that they're really close. I just don't think that they can beat the Raiders this week. Sorry. Go Raiders. Los Angeles Chargers at Miami Dolphins. This is a game that a lot of people are looking forward to because obviously Tua is in the mix. He's already won his first 2 NFL games. And then you have Justin Herbert, who's been able to ball out this season. I mean, this guy he can let it fly. And I've been really excited to see him play. The only downfall with the Chargers is that they have lost too many close games. Like, literally too many. And at some point you start to think, like, is this a coaching issue? Is this why they can't close out good games? And because of that, I can't take the Chargers. I also believe that South Beach is undefeated, so any team that's going down to Miami to play, it's humid down there. I just don't like teams when they go to Miami. I just don't like it. I'm going with the Dolphins. Let's go Tua. Let's get it. San Francisco 49ers at the New Orleans Saints. A year ago, this is a huge game. This year, the 49ers have been decimated with injuries. It sucks to see because even with all of the injuries, the 49ers have still played tough. This team is playing for Kyle Shanahan. I love when I see teams that lose key players and they still find ways to win games. And the 49ers have done that over the course of this season. However, Drew Brees and the Saints, Sean Payton, they're doing what they do every year. They win big games and they win big. They're coming off a big win against Tampa Bay, a game that a lot of people had Tampa Bay winning. They had all of these weapons. Drew Brees was just getting weapons back after winning multiple games without them. And that's why I'm taking the Saints. They've been able to do it with little. They've been able to do it with nothing. And now they've got all of their weapons back. And their defense has been playing great. This ain't the old Saints defense that you remember giving up 100 million points every game. This Saints defense has been locking it down, and they've been able to do what they need to do in order to make sure that their team can win games, and it's not the defense's fault that they didn't win. Go Saints. Baltimore Ravens versus the New England Patriots. Baltimore, they have one of the worst passing attacks in the NFL. But the Patriots, they haven't been great either, and they've lost to division rivals that they haven't lost to in years. This is not the same Patriots team. Yes, they're still Belichick, but this isn't the same team. They've had a ton of players opt out, and then the players that are on the field just haven't been able to put it all together. And I don't want to say that a lot of this is on Cam's shoulders because this has a lot to do with how they've drafted in the past. And the Patriots, they just haven't drafted great players. And in the past, they've been able to mask that with great quarterback play. But this season, we're starting to see a lot of those things unfold and see some of the holes in this Patriots team. And Baltimore, they've got some holes as well. They're really going to have to focus in on how they can protect their quarterback, but also how they can get the ball down the field. They haven't pushed the ball up until this point. They've been a run-first team, and we've known that about Baltimore. But this is the week that they got to get right, because if they become one-dimensional where teams shut down the run, they're going to be forced to pass. And if they can't pass, they're going to lose. But this week, I'm going with my Ravens. I think that they have a huge opportunity to go into New England, to go into Gillette Field, and tell the Patriots that they're no longer the big kid on the block. There's a new sheriff in town. Thank you for watching another episode of Talking Football with Crombie. I appreciate all the likes, the shares, the subscribes, everything. Catch you guys next week. Thank you.
Silly talk, you know I'm on walk, yeah, I got a mask and the main attraction, yeah, I run it up like Lamar Jackson, yeah. You think I'm a lame, I don't say much, but I'm hanging out the window, I'ma spray much, yeah. Niggas wanna go to war with a battle, oh Lord, I'ma have to.